Welcome back to Tom Shattuck's Burn Barrel, your deep dive into the news of the day, the gauntlet that is life's challenges.
We seem a little extra challenged at life more than most people.
Yeah, that's correct. Oh, that's a good point, actually. Let me get to that. I have a direct message on Twitter for you, Alice.
For me?
This is a programming note, so you guys know. This is on Twitter. This is Alan.
Okay.
Says, and this is not the complaint department, but I'm glad you remembered this because it has to do with a lot with like where we are with our lives, etc. Because we just had friends over, our very good friends, and you know, we were talking to them about how just things move so fast, and like I can't believe next week's July 4th. What the freak is that? Like I've been head down. So if we. It was just Christmas. I
barely noticed 2022 started, to be honest.
It's like, is the summer almost over? Mm-hmm. So Alan says, you guys have to stop with the kid interruptions. I love the show, but it's getting annoying to the point I turn it off after multiple interruptions. Not sure if it's unavoidable, but maybe cut it out of the playback? I may be nuts, but I just had to say it. Phew, thanks. To which I responded to him, and he responded well. Very cordial. And Alan makes a valid point. And Alan, you are right. But let me tell you something. You're right. I am also not a fan. If you guys watch, people who watch will probably notice more than listen. I am not pleased when the kids come up here. I'm not pleased at any of this stuff because a lot of times...
Well, though, I have to say, and like most people do just listen, I was listening to one of our episodes the other day, and because like you turn off the mics to yell at the kids or whatever, it's just dead air. The show just stopped.
Right,
it's not clear to you why when you're listening.
Not generally very long, but yeah, but so
I didn't love it.
So this is so I'll address you too, Alice.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Here is the situation. We don't have enough defenders. We are outgunned. There are too many kids here, and if they get past our defender, which is our daughter, then sometimes they're going to find their mother. Now, I decided a year and a half ago, whatever it was, that I wanted Alice to be part of the show more not because I want a husband and life, coffee clash. As a matter of fact, that was the downside. I was worried about having Alice all the time on because it's lame to have your wife on. Oh, isn't that cute? The husband and the wife doing cute stuff, and oh, honey, you just been blowing into our hot chocolate. It's gross. I hate that kind of crap. And there were people in the beginning who were worried, who said, "Oh my goodness," because I started. It was a very raw show when I started out, and really, I haven't changed at all. It is still raw, but Alice brings horsepower, so there's more stuff. You guys don't understand that Alice is not doing show prep. Alice is somebody who's always reading stuff, always studying issues, always. So I'm not using Alice because it's fun and cute because she's my wife. I have Alice on because she has knowledge. She's a deep dive reader, and she has a deep knowledge of stuff. And to me, that is useful. And she's also somebody I can have my version of an intellectual conversation with, and we can work things out. So so that's why I have Alice on. Now, one of the downsides of having Alice on, and there aren't too many. Her schedule sometimes. Our schedules don't always mix, so sometimes that can be a downside. But the only big downside is obviously the kids want their mother. They don't give a crap if she was somewhere else in the house.
Yeah, you could lock yourself in here all day. Yeah, they wouldn't care.
They would never come in here if it was just me. But the kids want their mother, especially the two littler ones. They want their mother. They want all sorts of stuff that they can only get from their mother. It's a thing. It's just a thing. So the kids will get past the security and want stuff from us. And they don't care, especially the 4-year-old could give a flying F if we're in the middle of a podcast. He doesn't care.
As it should
He'll
be.
roll right in. Right. Because the kids are under the impression that they live in a house with parents. Which is fine because they do. So this is what I would say to you. We are over effing run. This show is done in the middle of combat every day. It is a miracle that we pulled this freaking thing off.
Right. The alternative is really not to do the show.
It is a miracle that we pull this off. A miracle. Some days we are flat effing out. during the day now, Alice is from the morning time till 5 or 6, whatever. Her job has her stuck to her machine, and my job has me stuck to this room. I have a full-time job doing a radio show in the morning, so I'm from 6 or 7 in the morning till 11. I am studying and trying to put stuff together because I've got 4 hours to do.
Well, Julie and Phil in the chat say they like the kids to interrupt.
But I don't like it. But I understand people say they like it. But that's not. I don't want to be the kids' show. It was never my idea. You know, I understand that they can be funny sometimes and whatever. But I'm not one of these guys who ever thought, oh, look at little Ephraim's growing up to be. That's not me. So those guys who don't want to see kids, I'm right there with it because there's some red-blooded stuff. But we do the show under total. It's a rolling cluster event. So we just got done talking to our friends who visited here. There's 2 kids downstairs and 1 daughter. 1 kid's at camp, and who knows what can happen. But it is a miracle. There's no oh my goodness, another interruption. It is not like that. This podcast is a miracle, and the fact that we can do it through Sunday through Thursday, and it's only because great feedback that we can do that. I was thinking the other day about going to 3 days a week, and I thought, wow, wouldn't that, because we were talking last week about how we're underserving the kids in a way, because we're stuck up. I mean, we're here, we do all our whole day of work, then we have got a brief flash of to bring kids places, really, or to go to the store or whatever, and then we're back on this podcast, and then it's winding down time or whatever, and nothing's getting done. The house gets dirty, there's whatever, and we're like, is this even fair to the kids? So I was thinking, what if we did cut down to 3 days? And I'm thinking about that. I think that maybe that's something. Like Kirk, the Minhan podcast cut down to 3 days. Jerry's 5 days. But
1 day is a Patreon day. It's only 4 public days.
Right, but he's doing it 5 days. So
right.
So I don't know. But for the time being, I think we're going to stick to our everyday. But But I appreciate the interest in that, and that's a good question.
Well, and about removing it in post, too. This show just gets posted as is. I mean, we rarely swear anyway, but if there's a swear, you'll bleep that, but that's the only
I'll mark that during the show, and I'll bleep it. Exactly. Where, Alan, we have no time. I'm not spending any time going in and editing stuff. There's no time. I'm sorry about that. I know as a listener, whatever, it can be sucked, but that's what's happening, is that believe me, and one of the things you're getting here is this is absolutely our real life. It's just not effing. I'm sure it would be better if it wasn't our real life and the nanny was downstairs and we could pretend that the kids were such a pain. But we are overrun with kids in life and all sorts of crap. And, one of the things, obviously we talk politics. That's one strain of what we do. But we also talk life. And right now our life is effing hectic as hell. We talk about real stuff. We talked about drinking and not drinking last week and whatever, and alternatives and other ways to cut out stress, about missing my son, 1 kid up in camp. We have a whole bleep load of stuff going on. Our life is, even though we're adults and I'm almost 50 years old, our life is not settled and on a glide path. Now, what was that we were watching? Oh, the movie yesterday we watched.
10 Things I Hate
10
About You.
10 Things I Hate About You from 1997, whatever. Showed the single father, the comedian there, and his house was nice and all set, a beautiful restored Victorian, and all sorts of...
He was an obstetrician, though.
Wonderful thing. I know. All right. Yes. We have moved into a place, and we have entered lives irresponsibly. We have entered a life that requires a tax bracket much higher, many tax brackets away from us. So in other words, we're overrun with stuff. So that's the crap we're dealing with is everyday stuff. So anyway, and that's not really to Alan to do overtime to answer your questions, but also it's a good to just refresh people on what we're doing with the show.
Yeah, and not to complain either, because I think we're both grateful to have the podcast. We wouldn't do it if we didn't like it, and we're grateful, especially you guys who are listening right now live, our Patreon supporters who help make the show a reality for sure, which is really awesome and appreciated. But yeah, this is a labor of love hobby that we're doing. We don't and can't, we also work 2 full-time jobs in addition, but we would only do it if we loved it and loved you guys and we're putting it out there for you.
Right. And in the initial thing when it was just me was I just wanted to get on the record about the craziness of the world. That's it. And experience it every day with you guys. And that's it. And then rolling in Alice into it was the same thing, kind of trying to make sense of the world day by day. And for our world, it's not only the current events and politics and culture and all that crap, but it all is also just life. So, and we wanted to share it. and I also consider it something that at some point will be, it's almost a diary of what we were thinking, how we were thinking, and just what life was like. It's like a real good daily reminder, because neither of us we're not, credentialed historians or philosophers or professors of classics or anything. Like, this isn't just simply this is us hashing crap out as real human beings. This is not a lecture. So that's the value.
And more power to the people who do those shows.
Sure.
Those are harder. The like real history podcasts and stuff that are like actually
that's great.
by people who are very expert and are very polished and produced.
Right.
But, like,
so that's great. And so
we aren't and can't be that.
Yeah, we don't have it. We certainly don't. It is. Believe me, this is not a matter of there's not enough. It is a moonshot every day to get this going, and to
you'll notice it's almost 8:00 now. If it's not, it might be past now.
This is not like it's almost 8:00, and there'll be encroaching forces soon, probably. Hopefully not into this room, but so we'll see. All right, so that is that about the kids coming in. Just a little background on our lives and etc. So I'm gonna take the trash out. That's right. Take the trash out for tomorrow. It's not Juneteenth tomorrow, right? I'm okay to take the trash out? Jesus. I don't even know if we even talked about that. We probably did, right?
It was 1 week ago. Yeah. Yeah.
That's right.
Are you implying that Juneteenth, do you have some kind of problem with Juneteenth being a holiday?
Right. And somebody suggest, like we're at such mass hysteria here, and there's such an attempt such a tribal warfare going on that one side is always accusing the other side of ill intentions or extremely malevolent core beliefs. Wait a second, you suggesting you don't even know that it's Juneteenth? That very sacred thing that I've always known about, especially in the last year? It's like, it just has so they can lord it over you for a second. Juneteenth, of course, it's the Black Wall Street. You don't know that? Well, you should be canceled. It reminds me of what was it last? Oh, that's right. When it's such a cultural thing now, where especially the left comes to a new consensus that means you have to be destroyed. Oh my God! They said without evidence on Fox News, they let somebody get on there and say it might be a lab leak. I remember when that happened, being in the newspaper and having everybody in the newspaper say, "Oh my goodness!" The editor say, "That's treasonous by Fox. You can't say that. Well, lab leak. That is so irresponsible and so racist and so terrible." Everybody dismissed out of hand around the globe that it could be a lab leak, just out of the
because Trump didn't like China.
Disadvantageous's of it being a lab leak in case it was. No. We can't. It has to be about Trump screwed this up. It can't be about the Chinese from 11. So we all decided 2 years ago that you can't say that. Couldn't say it. Now it's very possible that it was a lab leak. Now everything's very possible. There was a time where you couldn't. Wait, you're saying the Russians didn't hack the election? How could you? You're not allowed to say the Russians. Wait, you're saying you're trying to push this Hunter Biden stuff? This is Russian propaganda. There's 17.
All the hallmarks of Russian disinformation. Yeah. Many intelligence officials who are
so
very knowledgeable.
So in other words, everybody is full of shit. Everybody. Don't believe any of these people. And just like much with the like F you with your freaking Juneteenth. Why do I have to say another stupid word that doesn't make any sense? Because, we're all saying it now. That's right. Yeah, you all wore the effing Livestrong bracelet 15 years ago, too, okay? You all did a whole bunch of stuff, and I don't believe anything that you say now. I do not believe anything the establishment says. I actually was listening to Matt Taibbi today talking to Ben Shapiro, and Taibbi said, well, there's real people just really don't believe in institutions anymore. And it's like, yeah. Why would you? You'd be a fool. You'd be a fool to believe the first thing the FBI says to you. You'd be a fool to believe. I mean, all this stuff that the State Departments are putting out, and the intel organizations. And what's this? Who put a thing out today saying that they were going to look at Roe V Wade? The Pentagon or something?
The Pentagon isn't going to follow it, they said.
Is everybody's a goddamn activist now? Everybody's an activist now.
Don't.
So everybody's an activist. No, that's right. We have to be able to do.
Which is weird because the armed services actually, because of the Hyde Amendment, can't actually do abortions or use their like health insurance to cover abortions, like on military bases and stuff, specifically because the Hyde Amendment prevents.
But much
public
as
money
usual
from going to
now.
abortion.
As usual now. You have the left who has remember. It's so funny because over the last 5 years now, they have been so over the top, hysterical, over the top about, the Handmaid's Tale thing 5 years ago, because Trump could grab people by the, and Trump being a Nazi, and us literally being in the hand of Putin, and all the other races, they've said all the stuff and hit the nuclear option button of hysteria so much now over the last 5 years that actually this Roe v. Wade reaction is
Well, yeah, and it's funny because I thought that, like, when even going back to like the end of the Trump presidency and, having lived through the hysteria of Kavanaugh, right? Like, I really thought when RGB died and Trump appointed Amy Coney Barrett, it was going to be a much bigger deal to the left, that they were going to, like, try and be more outrageous. And they were a little, like, they made some noises in their confirmation hearings or whatever. But in general, there was, like, almost no resistance to it. And I kind of feel like that with this, like, I mean, Twitter's trying to be like, oh, mass protests turned out. But it wasn't like, I mean, there really wasn't that much protest. This wasn't like last year with the George Floyd stuff.
2 years ago, yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I can't believe that was 2 years ago. Wow. But yeah, this wasn't like that level of hysteria and craziness. Like, they've just used up too much the wind's out of their sails because they've screamed now for, what are we, in the 6th year of 2016 now? Like, they've been screaming now for 6 years that all hell is breaking loose and everything's terrible and Trump is literally Hitler and all this stuff. And, like, it just doesn't, there's been no fire under all the smoke. So it just, like, nobody cares anymore. And, like, the Roe v. Wade stuff, they've been wearing these stupid Handmaid's Tales outfits for so long now that it's just, like, absurd.
You saw that? Somebody I know who lives in Charlestown took a picture of somebody literally walking down the street wearing one.
I can't.
So, but, like, what are we doing now? The thing where you all wore hats that looked like the biology of women, which was real smart, by the way, more over the top performance art, which we've now seen for 5 years or almost 6 years, over the top. Now, and you still think we're going to be stunned by the crap you do? You did it back when there was no reason to do it. You made up the Kavanaugh stuff from whole cloth. You brought in a psychotic to talk about, it's in the hippodermis.
Indelible in the hippocampus.
Right, some psychotic who we all knew was a psychotic. Well, you made fun of, you pretended that he ran a gang of sex slaves or whatever.
Well, right, I was going to say the psychotic story was actually the
You pulled the lie about
crazy.
Charlottesville. You pulled the freaking Mueller report BS where you all pretended to very soberly go to the wine bar and crack open the Mueller report. I'm going to read this with an open mind. Oh my God! And then you pulled all the crap with the golden shower stuff and Trump and you pulled it all and you had fainting fits in front of us again and 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 again. And now it's like Roe v. Wade is taken away. Something that had you had your eye on the ball at all, had you even thought about. Other than it being a slogan, the left doesn't even know what it is.
Right. No, it's crazy because there's too many people posting on social media right now that are completely ignorant of everything to do with this. Like, so somebody was telling me they were at like their kid's sports game and a bunch of moms had like RGB t-shirts and stuff. Like, I mean, if there's one person who's more responsible for this happening than anybody else, it's Ruth Bader Ginsburg, because she didn't, I think I said did I say RGB or whatever? I always mix it up. But, so if she had retired during the stupid Obama presidency, like, I mean, well, they would have still had 5 votes, but I don't know if it realistically would have happened because I don't know if they would have taken the case with Roberts on the fence and Kavanaugh being a squish and whatever. You know, if they hadn't had the Amy Coney Barrett, that 6th vote to like make it essentially fact that it was going to pass and sort of a foregone conclusion. So then you're going to have Kavanaugh and Roberts join to kind of push the decision as written a little further to the center, right? Because, I mean, like, Clarence Thomas's concurrence was something that has the left freaking out. I have to say, I love that a little bit, too. With the, like, birth control and the gay marriage stuff.
Oh, yeah, sure. But here's the thing. Is like, you already did all the fainting couch stuff for the past 5 years, and now this is out. You're like, oh, my God, I'm going to faint Handmaid's Tale. I'm back to the last century again, racism.
Yeah, but the point is, like, none of them even understand how any of this works, or how the courts work, or how civics works, or how Congress works. Like, any of it. Right. Everybody is
and
so
that
ignorant,
is the
and
key
it makes
to this,
me
Alice.
crazy.
That's the key to this. That is why this is a problem for the left. Because of Roe in the Supreme Court. Because they said it's a right. Roe v. Wade said that I have a right to agency over my own body, end quote. That's what it said. That was all it. Well, there was never a constitutional right. The problem the left, the smart left has with this, and you're going to see what I mean in a moment. The real problem that they're going to have here is that this is a very bad debate for the left. This is a very bad debate, not only procedurally, but on the merits of what we're doing.
Well,
I think that there are things, and there are stories, and there is eyewitness testimony that the left has never heard and would never countenance. They would never want to hear it at all. Because the truth is that for many in this country, abortion is a lifestyle issue. And that being somebody who was alive in the 90s, knowing guys and girls and some of them getting pregnant, there was no rape. There was no mother's gonna die. There was I'm not having
in the mood
a kid
to have
now.
A kid.
I'm not losing my body. I don't want to be a mom. I'm hot. It's 1993. No.
And that's an observation that's not purely anecdotal. That's actually borne out by the numbers. You know, I've looked at this a little bit. The Guttmacher Institute, which is a pro-abortion organization. They're a pro-women's rights, all this stuff. But they do a bunch of research into, like, why people get abortions and when people get abortions and all this stuff. And their research shows that it's like 1% or less of abortions are related to rape, and even less than that are related to incest. The vast, vast majority, like 70, 80, 90% are, I don't feel ready to have a kid. I don't think I can afford to have a kid. I don't like the kid's father. It's all stuff like that. That's the vast, vast, vast majority of abortions are for reasons like that. So, you know, I'm like not an abortion person, obviously. Like, I'd like to see everything except life of the mother off the table. But look, like, I'm willing to compromise with you, right? Because I'm willing to take all the lives of all the babies that I can get here. So if you want to say rape, incest, and life of the mother are off the table and we'll leave those ones out and we can have everything else, then, like, fine. Then I would take that for the moment because I think that would be 99% of abortions. Like, that's all of them, essentially.
Oh, of course.
I mean, and it's the same thing, like, with, I mean, people are so ignorant, they don't know. Even the people in Europe don't know. We have Emmanuel Macron of France, like, tweeting about how women are losing their rights in the U.S. and, like, you can't get an abortion in France past, like, 12 weeks.
Well, and also France has no constitutional right to abortion. It was done by the legislature.
Right. They passed a law that said when you could get an abortion or not.
Yes, I had somebody say this as well. An
here,
American who I know who lives in France said, I can't tell you how many people are coming up to me and saying, I can't believe they took away your rights in America. It's like, they still have more rights than you do in France. But then she got ready to go back to me, she said, yeah, but America's known for having lots of rights and freedoms, and it seems like we have less. Which actually isn't true. In a sense now, you have more decision about your freedoms now than you ever did.
Right.
Because your state legislatures are going to make decisions now.
Or
so you now have a say in what they do. You can,
Right.
Before, when the Supreme Court did it, there was no say.
Right. Or Congress can, by the way. Like, I hear a lot of people say this puts it back to the states, which it does in a sense. But the more accurate thing even to say, then it goes back to the states right now, is that it's going back to the legislatures, because it can also go back to Congress. Congress could still pass a national law. I mean, either Democrats could pass a national law if they wanted to, which you would think they would be able to if, like, they keep saying 80% of Americans support this, which they don't. What they could probably pass a national law to do, they could probably pass a national law if they wanted to say unrestricted abortion up to like 12 or 15 weeks. And then after that, no. That is probably something that they could get to pass and would be supported by a majority of Americans. But they would never do that in a million years, because that's about 1,000 times more restrictive than what the activist wing of their party wants to see, which is 100% completely unlimited abortion all the way up through the third trimester, and anything else is an assault on women's rights. And why don't you trust women?
That's exactly right. That's
So,
exactly right.
I mean, like, they could. I mean, and the
And
Republicans
that,
could
Alice,
do the same thing.
and that is the debate that they can't have.
Right, and that's why. I mean, like, and even though it's not necessarily like my desired final outcome on abortion, I do think that, like, what Republican governors are doing right now, like this Mississippi law, the one that was at issue in this Dobbs case, is no abortions after 15 weeks unless for the life of the mother, a medical reason. Or I think it's any medical, it's like for there's medical exceptions built into the law after 15 weeks, but up to 15 weeks. How many people have had an ultrasound close to or around 15 weeks? I mean, like, we had one at like 9 and it looked like a baby. I mean,
Right.
like, I don't know how people, and a lot of people in this world have had ultrasounds at varying points in pregnancy and know what that looks like. And no, don't start stuff with like, oh, if you like miscarriage, that counts under these. Like, no, nobody is saying that. Stop making stuff up. Like, it just doesn't look good for them. And now, like, what the actual consensus popular position is in America, which is like, okay, if you have to get an abortion early, fine, but like not later on in pregnancy, that ground has now been claimed by Republican governors. So, I mean, like, I don't know why Democrats are so dumb as to, like, just hand this issue to Republicans, because, I mean, maybe they're so delusional they're, like, believing their own press now, because this is the stuff they go out there and say, like, 80% of people support a woman's right to choose, like, which might kind of be true on paper, but when you actually, like, dig in and pull the specifics a little deeper, most people are not very comfortable with abortion later on in pregnancy. Most people are only really comfortable with it early on.
Right. And there's a couple of things I think that are at play here. I think there's some people, I mean, this is to a lot of people the vanguard issue, because it symbolizes everything. I think there's some people, some including feminists, who come at this just saying it's unfair. It's unfair because why does a government get to make decisions on something happening inside of a woman's body? Well, hold on.
Okay.
And that is true, because they are making decisions on things happening inside of a woman's body. There's no doubt about that. But, and here's the suck it up part, is them's the breaks. You guys have the kids. Sorry. I know that if the men had the kids, abortion would be like, I get it. But the problem is biology, that they provide that women, feti gestate in women. That's just how it is. So you're right. Men will never have to worry about this. Men will not have to get an abortion. That's right. It's not fair. Sorry. Sucks to be you, okay? You guys are pretty, all right? And men fight over you, so you get that. But, so I'm sorry that biology, and to try to make things fair because biology screwed you over, F you. And also, of course, the big problem is, and you're going to find this when we play this in a moment, is that there's, at some point, a third party involved in this.
Well, right. And here's the thing, too, and this is what tells you that whole line of reasoning is disingenuous to start with, right? I
think it comes from a place of emotion.
Right. But the thing is, here's the thing, is you hear that line of reasoning like that it's about women's bodies, like hands off women's bodies, don't regulate my uterus, all that stuff, right? Like, that is something people say, but the problem is that technology is getting a lot better, and that the point of viability is becoming much earlier in pregnancy, and it's going to continue getting even earlier. I mean, doctors are doing life-saving surgeries on infants in the womb younger than can be aborted. And they're developing artificial womb technology so that if something happens to the mother,
I didn't even get to this part there. This is the science. This is the other thing. But
here's
the
thing,
why
we're seeing babies more. We know more about it. We know that they are babies more so than ever. The more we see, this is part of what makes it more uncomfortable, is people weren't seeing routinely their babies before birth in 1973. It just wasn't as common and it wasn't as widespread, and they weren't saving babies as early in pregnancy who were born prematurely. So it was like, they can't survive outside the woman's body. Well, now we save babies at 22 weeks, and that's really this is part of the problem, is that now we do know more. Okay. And there's really not as much of an excuse anymore. And as they're developing artificial womb technology and stuff, where it's if a baby is super, super premature, they can stick it in this artificial womb in a hospital. How are you going to still have that argument that it's about the women's body if you could take that same baby and put it in an artificial womb in a hospital and bring it to term artificially, right? And they'll argue then they'll turn around and say, well, no, it's about not making people be parents when they're not ready to. But then that tells you that it's not really about anyone's body at all, and men have to become parents when they're not ready to. So now we're talking about a different right that women have that men don't actually have, because when a guy gets a girl pregnant, he's on the hook for child support whether he wants to be or not. He doesn't get to decide to have an abortion. Right? He doesn't get to decide whether or not he's ready to be a parent afterwards. His moment to decide whether or not he's ready to be a parent is in the bedroom. And that's honestly when it should be for women too. That's your opportunity to decide whether or not you're ready to be a parent. Is that decision-making process there at that point in time. Your decision about whether or not you're ready to be a parent is not 4 months into pregnancy. That can't be.
And this is why this is a problem, because for the left, because they're not, and I'm going to play this week with George Stephanopoulos with guest host, whatever, the girl from ABC News. They're not. They can't have this argument without big omission. The left can't have this argument without omitting the child. They can't. Right. They can't. They will. They're only going to have this dialogue between themselves, only talking about the mothers, and mean government, etc. Mother. If they broaden it to the reality of all of the factors, then it becomes an unwinnable argument for them, because there is at some point a little baby involved, and like you said, there's in utero surgeries, etc. There's also if ever Congress had this and brought up witnesses, the stuff that happens when a baby's in the womb, and the stuff that happens, not only when there's procedures, whatever, that involve babies, but certainly during abortions, the realities of what's going on and how the baby is reacting would stop the country in its tracks.
Oh, yeah. When they're counting up limbs to make sure they got everything out.
No, Alice, stop it. Please. Don't go grizzly on me, please.
Sorry.
For God's sakes.
Sorry.
God.
It's a grisly topic,
Don't go there. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about other things. In other words, there is the people who are in and around these things talk about it is very visual and obvious that the child is doing whatever it can to survive the procedure. And the some of the eyewitness accounts and the anecdotes you hear from doctors and other people are freaking astounding, frightening, and incredible. It's incredible. So this is why I say the left can't have this debate in the open, because one, if they see themselves what's happening, or if it is shown to the world the truth of what's happening, then it's an unwinnable situation. And it would require not only them to push down and stifle every bit of humanity that would be called upon after seeing and hearing these testimonials, but they would have to, not stifling it would mean that we'd have to have a real reckoning about what's going on, and that is It's right up there with the biggies. If you did, especially if you know some of the play-by-play stuff, which is not good. So when the former Klansman and or blackface governor of Virginia says, "Oh yeah, if we have a late term abortion, we deliver the baby and make it comfortable and then kill it." Essentially, what happens during that is it's a nightmare. So the left cannot have this debate out loud because I don't want to hear about Joni didn't get to go to law school because it doesn't compare with what happens on the ground. But that's why the left can only tell the stories of the worst possible situations for mothers. So let's go to ABC this week with George Stephanopoulos. This is fantastic. So you have the host, who's the chick from ABC News Radio. I forgot her name, but you'll know her in a second. She then throws to Terry Moran, who's a veteran journalist. Just listen to how this whole thing is how they set the table with this.
From ABC News, this is a special edition of This Week. Here now, co-anchor Martha Raddatz.
Good morning and welcome to This Week. On Friday morning, women in this country, like they have for nearly 50 years, woke up with a constitutional right to abortion, a right enshrined by the Supreme Court's 1973 decision in Roe v. Wade and reaffirmed again and again. But just after 10 a.m. on Friday, a legal earthquake, the court stripping women of that fundamental right.
That fundamental right? Wait a second. What rights are fundamental? I know there's
abortion.
Freedom of speech is fundamental. I think that's one of the rights, right?
Second Amendment, right to bear arms.
Right. But the fundamental right, nope. This only gets worse.
In a 6-3 decision, the conservative majority upheld Mississippi's ban on abortion after 15 weeks of pregnancy, with 5 of those justices voting to go even further, overturning Roe v. Wade. The first time an individual right of this magnitude, set in decades of precedent, has been taken away.
Individual rights of this magnitude has been taken away.
They could also try, passing laws if they felt like it.
They could also, exactly. A right has been taken away. So ABC News is not helping with this, but it gets worse.
Since the announcement, abortion...
You could figure somewhere in there, you could weave in if you wanted to, that maybe this might save the lives of a few kids with who might have Down syndrome who are found in the womb, or it could mean that children who are in the womb still, but showing signs of being able to communicate, might be safe. We're not getting that. This is all women and rights.
Rights activists have swarmed the court and launched protests across the country, alongside anti-abortion rights groups celebrating a landmark legal and political victory decades in the making. Abortion is now a matter for the states and Congress, a decision for voters and their elected leaders, rather than between a woman and her doctor.
Now, it should be. Well, the good side is abortion is now a matter of people in states and their elected leaders.
Yeah, I thought we didn't want abortion to be decided by a bunch of old white men in black robes, which is who decided it in 1973.
Right.
So I'm not totally sure.
Now, women get an actual say. You could, using your legislature, your representative, put your own preferences. Say, I want this to be in there.
Right. More women have the chance to weigh in on this than weighed in on Roe v. Wade.
Right.
Decision had an immediate effect. As of this morning, abortion is now illegal in 8 states. 7 additional states had passed so-called trigger laws that automatically went into effect once Roe was overturned. And in the coming weeks and months, a total of 26 states are expected to ban or severely restrict abortion. Just 16 states, plus Washington, D.C., have laws that explicitly protect access to abortion care. President Biden called Friday's decision a sad day for the court and for the country, and talked about the steps the administration will take in the wake of...
This is more of a negative tone than 9/11 was.
Oh, yeah.
This is, bad. gotten bad. Now suddenly.
The ruling. Amidst so much uncertainty, what does seem clear is the emergence of a new era in which the Supreme Court, like so much of the rest of the country, is mired by partisan divide.
I love it. When we do it, it's not a partisan divide.
No.
But when the other side takes back the exact thing that we literally did, then it's a partisan divide.
It's all certain to keep the court at the center of a political battle to come this fall in the midterm elections. We will cover all the fallout from the landmark ruling.
Fallout.
Yeah.
There's only fallout from this ruling that went against him. There's only fallout. You know, there's nothing good.
And
it's only fallout.
The wishful thinking of like, this is going to play out in the midterm elections, even though this issue just does not move the needle for people. This is not an issue that excites people, especially when they can't buy groceries and gas. They just don't care.
And the state of play for reproductive rights across the country, including interviews with South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem and Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren. But we begin with our ABC team covering the very latest. And Terry Moran, you have covered the court for so many years.
Okay, so get ready. We haven't even started yet. Terry Moran, you've covered the court for years and years and years. Been an ABC reporter for 40 years or whatever. He's a man in the know. He's a journalist. So he's going to take a cold and sober look at this, and exactly what it means, and the things that could appear to be alarming to some people, and the things that aren't alarming to other people. This is going to be a very down the middle look, very sober, cold. The analysis here will be analytical. It will not be emotional whatsoever.
Shock of this may have been tempered by the leak of the draft opinion in May, but you cannot overstate how important and what an impact this will have.
Martha, this is the most consequential Supreme Court decision in decades. It changes the status of American women as citizens of the United States and as citizens of their states. That's the big picture, but let's not mince words. Women will die.
What?
Because of this ruling. We already have a disgraceful rate of maternal mortality. But from now on, doctors in many states will have to ask themselves, in pregnancies where there are serious complications, a split placenta or placenta in a dangerous position, will the local prosecutor, will the local jury think my patient is in enough danger for me to perform what I otherwise would consider a medically necessary abortion? And
well, first of all, how do you get to be a reporter and say women will die as a matter of this? They will die. Holy God! You know, really? You know that for a fact?
in 11 states already, including Texas and Florida, state governments can seize control of the bodies of women.
Holy Christ, really? Did you realize that they can seize control?
Goodness.
Oh, man, we're late, Albie. We're going to have to do the chat and then get back to this.
I know.
We'll finish this on the
Patreon
on
show.
the Patreon. Oh, my goodness. I'm sorry, guys.
We have a lot of chat to get to, too.
We went late. All right.
This is your Wakefield mole, as opposed to John from Wokefield checking in.
Oh,
I need a ruling from the burn barrel justices.
all right.
As a proud member of the 5%, does that make me a video supremacist? And is restorative justice in order?
Well, you're the one who cast the
aspersions.
yeah,
I called them
aspersions.
5%.
Exactly.
You know what? Is it not restorative justice that I'm putting up the videos now?
No, that's. Oh my God. Fine. Do they not? What does that say?
Let them eat cake?
Yes, let them eat cake. Are you not entertained? There, I give you your pittance. Yes, she is a video
I put up the
supremacist.
videos.
She's an elitist. Believe me. When you're from, she's from Lexington. Do you believe that she would do anything but deliver her septic to Wakefield? What is a Wakefield?
Look, I put up the videos now.
Look at
I'm
them.
all caught up.
Look at them walking
videos are
around that
there.
ridiculously big lake. Near the highway. They walk around it so. My goodness. In Lexington, at least we have a respectable bike path. Look at their lake. They're Donahue's. Is Donahue's the bar in Wakefield?
No, Harrington.
Harrington's. Oh, how ethnic Harrington's. My goodness. We used to
I'm
go
not like that. I'm more ethnic than you.
We used
Stop
to go to Cabot's Ale House in Lexington. I'm sorry about that. Yes.
No,
Alice
Lexington used to be a dry town, actually.
Okay. Alice is a video supremacist. I'm sorry you had to hear that. I'm sorry for her hate crime.
In the Sunday Globe today, Clarence Thomas was attacked for being close to his wife. I'd like to file a similar charge against Tom Shattuck.
I guess I am. And you also, like Ginny Thomas, are a bit of a radical and and pro January 6th. Let the record show. Alice actually was in the building with antlers. Yes, she was. By the way, these are the smattering of new callers, by the way.
That's great. Thank you guys for calling.
That was John before. That was our Wakefield mole.
Hey, Tom and Alice.
Hey.
This is Charlie from Virginia.
Charlie?
Now living in Ipswich, Massachusetts.
Nice.
I'd like to let you know that.
We were just in Ipswich,
I like
sucking
Ipswich.
down a couple of beers at the Ipswich Ale House.
Yes.
Alice stole a glass, by the way.
That's not true.
Alice?
I didn't.
Was there or was there not a glass in your purse?
I did not steal a glass.
Was there or was there not a glass in your purse?
I plead the fifth, but I did
Alice,
not steal it. I did not
plead the fifth
steal
means
it.
that you don't keep talking, by the way. Wow, what a thief! And you don't even own up to it.
I didn't take it.
Honor?
You snuck that into
Have
my
you
purse.
no
You
honor?
snuck that into my
Have
purse.
you
I
no
did not
honor?
know it was there.
Are you
Officer.
seriously
Serious.
turning state's evidence against me?
Yes.
You, God, elitist, zero honor. My friend Stokey from Muskogee is so right. Women have no honor. Yacht Bunny sells me down the.
I know you think all the crazy people are wherever you live now and where you used to live in Melrose. But I was driving through the center of Ipswich today, and I saw a Beto for Texas sign. So here in Ipswich,
Great.
we have people
That's great.
advertising for a governor about 1,500 miles away.
That's interesting.
So it's not just you.
Yeah.
We're all in it together.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I've seen there's that little square in Ipswich where they always
We
do.
somebody
That's great.
did tell us, by the way, that that they saw a parent in a Stacey Abrams shirt this week. So
Holy hell, that's fantastic.
So, by the way, speaking of our local region, because I promised on Twitter that I would say more on the sus teacher, which was that I was correct that it was a situation where it was, according to the Newburyport News anyway, that it was a situation where it was a kid he babysits that he took nude pictures of that were on his phone, and he was super close to a bunch of kids at the school, and it was an awkward and bad situation that the school should have picked up on way, 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 way sooner.
Oh, hey, Tom and Alice. The
Hey.
wedding went off pretty good. There was also a taco bar, so you missed out.
Ooh.
Oh, gotta go. Iron Eagle's on.
Oh, Cappy, Iron Eagle. You know Iron Eagle, Alice?
No, I don't know what that is.
The guy who played Lamar also played another flyer who said, remember who we got now? We got Ronald freaking Reagan. Gun. Get it, Reagan? Gun? Do you know who Lamar is from Revenge of the Nerds?
No.
Alice, you're missing. This is huge. It's LGBT plus Q plus Pride Month. You don't know
What?
Lamar from Revenge of the Nerds?
No.
We got a lot of work to do. We'll watch Revenge of the Nerds, so this is important. But yes, so Iron Eagle was a terrible takeoff on a terrible movie called Top Gun. And Iron Eagle, he flew F-16 as a kid, but he could only fly them, right, if he was listening to his Sony Walkman, listening to his heavy metal. It was a terrible 80s thing. We should have been nuked then for it, but it was a terrible movie. My brother loved it. That just tells you it's terrible. My brother loved Top Gun too.
Hi, BB's Les.
Hi.
What a glorious weekend. What a glorious Friday.
Indeed.
However, I want to bring something up to my conservative girlfriends. While we all enjoyed the weekend,
Do you have Alice's
of our victory
computer in
laps,
front of you, Les?
victory dances, owning the libs, I want to bring up a constituency that nobody is remembering. And that is your more average woman, your either middle of the road woman, or perhaps your acutely conservative woman, and in fact even super Trumpster MAGA woman who may disagree with these decisions.
Ooh.
And this is our time, conservative women, to reach out to them. And
Now, that is interesting to do some outreach to them. Now, Alice, I am out of time, so what I'm going to do is we'll go to the Patreon. We're going to say goodbye. We're going to go to the Patreon. I will finish Leslie's message there. I will finish Terry Moran there. I'll finish everybody there. But I think that Leslie is absolutely right, that this is a time for education, because people know nothing about this. And especially people on the left who have always been like, it's like Roe tells me that I'm allowed to have an abortion. And I understand, and I'm not a good person. So, I mean, when I was a young man, depending on the situation, maybe when I was 20, 21, 22, depending on the situation.
I thought you were an MSP.
Male chauvinist, yeah, it was. But I understand that it's a very human thing, and that when you're young, the idea of being pregnant is very off-putting. But I will say I think it's good to have some conversations. Leslie is right. We'll finish her phone call, and Terry Moran, and everybody else there on the other side. We don't have enough time. Sorry about that.
Thank you so much for listening, everybody. We are heading over to the Patreon show, so if you're watching live on Patreon, stay right there. Don't go anywhere. And you can find that at patreon.com/burnbarrel. If you're interested in that, we do an extra segment each Sunday, and one Sunday a month we do a live stream as well. So that's where you can find that. You can, of course, always find us for free at burnbarrelpodcast.com, where we have our regular 5 shows a week on all the different places you listen to podcasts.
C'est la vie.